So now that we know what browsers are and what they do, let us look at how they work. Before we get to understand how browsers work, let us keep in mind that there is a computer, a powerful computer on the internet called the server computer. So from the diagram you have here, these are two server computers, and you see the way they have been connected to several laptops across. Now, you can realize that these browsers have been installed on the laptops, and anytime you search for a page on the internet, you make a web request to one of these servers. The web server is basically a high-level computer with a large storage and a very fast memory, which is always connected to the internet and doesn't ever go off. So for server computers, we don't turn them off, unlike the way you turn off your computer and turn it on as and when necessary. For the server computers, they have stable power supply, and so as soon as the server goes off, that is when you try requesting a page and they tell you the page is not found, the page cannot be found, or there is an error on the side of the server. So this is what happens. When you write your web design code, you upload it onto a server like these ones. The work of the server is to serve your laptop with the file you request for. So if you go into your browser and you type facebook.com, what happens behind the hood is that the browser makes an HTTP request to the server that is hosting the files containing facebook.com. The browser makes a request to that server, and then the server then releases that file to your computer. And when that file gets to your computer renders it up onto a nice web page for you to see. So it is based on the instructions that are received by the browser that your computer draws out your web page. So the server will tell your browser there is a button on the left which is green. There's a picture which has a size of, let's say, 20 pixels by 40 pixels on the top right corner. There's a text that reads, "It is good to know computing." All these instructions are given and they are stored on the server, which are released to your computer whenever you make a request. The instructions could be HTML that is supposed to describe the structure of your web document. We also have CSS that is supposed to describe the style. What color should it be? What should be the theme? What should be the size of the text? What should be the shape of the images? And then we also have JavaScript that adds some level of interactability to your site. So when you click on this button, what should happen? Should something pop up? Should images rotate? Should they transform? All these things are handled by the JavaScript. So the question is, what then is a server? Just as we saw in the previous video, a server is basically a specialized type of computer that doesn't go off. It is always connected to the internet. It has a large amount of space and then a very fast RAM because servers handle a lot of tasks. Can you imagine the number of people who visit Facebook each and every second? Facebook is likely to have about 5 million or even over 5 million requests in a second. And it is the server that handles all these requests. And so servers have a very, very fast RAM. The role of the server is basically to wait and patiently wait for a request to be made. So all that the server is doing each and every second is to be waiting for a request. As soon as it sees a request from a browser, it acts on the request by first looking at the browser that is making the request, and then it will go and search for that file the browser is demanding, and then give the file back to the browser if everything is in good shape, because sometimes certain browsers are restricted from viewing certain servers. So as soon as the request comes, there are a series of tests that the browser goes through or the server goes through before giving the file that is being requested back to the browser. As we move on with the course, you would even realize that the server computer isn't just about the hardware, but also a software. For a server to become a server, it needs a software that can identify requests like Django. That is why we need Django in this course. Django would serve as a software that can communicate with the browser. And so it can get requests from the browser, process the request, and give the browser back a response. The bottom line here is that once you have a software that can identify and process requests into responses, you can have a server even on your computer. Your small laptop can act as a web server, connecting many computers across the world. In that same way, your small desktop computer that is beside your bed can also act as a web server that can provide responses to many computers across the world. You do not turn the computer off. You have the required software. It is always connected to the internet. It has the ability to process a lot of requests within a short time. Then your computer can even qualify as a web server. Just as we have mentioned that anytime you make a request, the server processes the request you have made and then gives back a response to your browser. And it is upon this response that the browser designs the page that you see. Let us have a look or peek through some of the responses that our servers have been sending. So this is the PhD Foundation Africa website, which can be accessed by opening your browser and then typing phgfoundationafrica.org. When you open your browser, you can see that this is the response that the server has sent, and it is by this response that the browser has nicely created this website or has nicely designed this website. So in this course, our focus is going to be on how to write these instructions that the browser will be using to render the page of our choice. So follow me as we explore some of the responses that the browsers receive. This is our opened website. We have made a request to a remote server, a server that is not close to us, okay, by typing PhD Foundation Africa. After opening this page, let us inspect the response that was received for the browser to be able to create this page. So to view the response, you move to these three dots. So you click, and then you go to More Tools. And then here, you click on Developer Tools. You know that as somebody who creates websites, you are a website developer or a web developer. So you can refer to yourself as a developer. So let's open our Developer Tools. Good. So you can see this wonderful page being opened. All these they give different information, but our focus is going to be on the elements. So this is actually the instruction that has been received by the browser. And it is based on this instruction that this page has been created. So if you highlight on the body, you can see that everything has been highlighted. So everything on the left of the page falls under all these elements that have been provided. This can be very, very, very confusing, especially if this is your first time of seeing the elements or seeing a response like this. Don't worry, you are going to go through and you would be able to interpret this at the end of the whole course. Let us also inspect the elements or the response that is received by your browser when you open facebook.com. So when you type in facebook.com and this shows up, you can also inspect the elements by pressing Ctrl, Shift and I. That is going to open your developer console just as we did. And then you can see all the elements that have been given back by the server. So it is based on these elements that your browser has written Facebook in blue, has given this nice button, this green creates new account button and all that. Everything was given by the server. The browser received this and then uses that information to draw out the pages very nicely. Mind you, if you would remember, you would realize that all these pages have something in common. The doctype HTML command. Okay? And as we move on in the course, you would realize why this syntax or why this text is very, very important. You are going to get to know. I would encourage you to inspect as many elements and as many responses given by the server of different websites. I want you to identify more complex instructions that the server generates for your browsers. So that is something you should do. At least inspect about 10 to 20 instructions. Just open the website, press Ctrl, Shift and I, and then navigate to the elements. Sometimes when you open, it's the network that opens, you just come to the elements and then inspect that for you to have a view and a clear understanding of what is going on behind the scenes.